If not, on departmental reports, you guys had a chance to review everything, Councilman? All right. Thank you for that report. Moving on to item number 6, approval of minutes, June 24th, 2020. Councilman, if you had a chance to review, when ready, I need a motion to approve item number 6.
So moved. Yeah.
First motion was made by Mr. Lopez. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 7, discussion and possible action to amend an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Cotulla, Texas, establishing rules and regulations regarding sanitation and pollution control of the areas within proximity to the city's public water supply well, to include Exhibit A related to the sanitary conditions around well number 9.
In trying to approve well number 9, each one of the wells that the city has to have a sanitary, what is called a sanitary sewer easement. And what it does is it says that everybody within a certain distance of the well has to be connected to the city sewer system, and they cannot be connected to septic tanks. Because we started to submit for well number 9, the new well, all of a sudden all our wells came into play, and some of them had not been done properly in the past, and so they've asked us to redo the ordinance. This is a copy of the ordinance. It impacts all our water wells, but primarily it impacts water well number 9, which is the current new water well.
That's the one on Dobie Road.
Yes.
Yes.
Dobie and Ramirez or whatever that street is.
Didn't we just recently pass an ordinance prohibiting
They
construction?
did not like the language, and they gave us this language to put in so that they would approve it. And so TCEQ is asking us to pass this ordinance in this format.
But I believe that the other ordinance not only applied to this, but it applied to,
They didn't accept it.
okay.
Who didn't accept that the
TCEQ.
I think it was their ordinance, wasn't it?
Well, I don't know.
Yeah, I think they just.
All I know is that this guy, I believe his name is Justin Wong,
Okay,
sent this and said, this is what I want, and we said, okay.
don't argue.
The well is finished. We're just
Probably
waiting.
some of the language
We're just waiting
that
for,
changes
for this ordinance to
proximity,
pass.
within
We're
proximity.
gonna send him the copy of the ordinance, and he's gonna give us approval to connect it to the system and to punch it out.
What's the proximity from?
Proximity, within proximity is within a certain distance.
Okay.
And I think
wanna
the other
say it's
one
150 feet or something like that.
Yeah, the other one had
From
that,
the well.
had numbers. And this one is just proximity, within
Yeah, I
proximity.
don't- Looking through my stuff.
Yeah, it was a slight change, and when you get to TCEQ, you just kind of,
Yeah,
unless it's something egregious, you just kind of walk back.
yeah. The only thing I would want to recommend is, and I don't have the ordinance in here, but that if we get it in an editable format, that the ordinance indicate we're repealing the other one, so you don't have
Okay?
two different ordinances that address the same thing.
So when you quantify them to put in the code book, to send them to municipal code, you need to make sure that it's this one, because the other one is probably in your pile. So you need to remove it from the pile.
Bianca, do you have this in a Word format?
The wording.
Okay.
Yeah, just get David to put it into a Word format and
Yeah.
forward it to Steve,
And
because
then, and somewhere in there it'll say that we're repealing the other one.
he keeps a copy of the ordinances.
Thank you.
Any questions on item number 7, Councilman? If not, I seek a first motion to approve item number 7.
So move, Mayor.
Second.
First motion by Mr. Lopez, second by Mr. Ayala. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 8, discussion and possible action on the resolution of the City of Cotulla approving a fixed-based operator agreement at the Cotulla LaSalle County Municipal Airport with Cotulla Jets Center Incorporated, providing a fixed term of years, providing the rates of lease compensation containing indemnity requirements, declaring a public purpose, incorporating recitals, providing for severability, and setting an effective date.
Mr. Page is here. We had a conference call between Mr. Page, his attorney, Mr. Peña, and myself this afternoon. We, I think, have reached what we think is acceptable language in some of the major points. We're still trading some language that is there, but I think for the most part, the language that currently exists within the proposed contract is generally acceptable with some changes. I think this is exciting news for the city. Mr. Page will explain his proposed business development. He wants to make sure that he is insulated from changes and things that may occur over the period of time while he borrows the money necessary to do his investment. And I believe where we're going with it is that we would ask the council to approve us to continue negotiating with Mr. Page on this particular item, and Mr. Peña will chime in a minute after Mr. Page finishes his presentation.
Mr. Page, welcome.
Do I have to leave the mask on for talking?
Yeah, you can take it off and just don't speak too loud and
All right. I
push
won't
the stuff
shout.
over here.
But I am pretty excited about it, so it may be hard to contain myself. First, I'd like to put some background on it. I really appreciate even being at this point in time to do what we're doing. We couldn't be here, I couldn't be here if it had not been for you and Mr. Dovalina and city councils before you. We've done a lot of improvements at the airport that allow us to even think about this project. And it's a wonderful project. The major item of infrastructure that I plan to add is a 22,500 square foot hangar. It's 150 by 150 hangar with some real tall doors, 30-foot high opening. That's for the biggest business jets out there. We're making room for them because some of our existing customers already come here with airplanes that size, and they want a place to put them because they're multi-million-dollar airplanes. They don't even like to leave them outside for a weekend or a week. So I've got 2 of those customers that want this hangar and will be investing the money or loaning me the money to do it. The total outlay for that hangar and a few other side buildings that I anticipate adding to is going to be about $2 million. That's the size of project we're looking at. There is a certain amount of uncertainty about this. You know, it's not a sure thing to make a go of it. But that's been the nature of the business at the airport ever since I got there 32 years ago. I embarked on a lot of this journey on faith. We're doing what I think we're supposed to be doing. And I've also got a real positive outlook for what's ahead in our future here in Cotulla, or I wouldn't be doing this. This particular venture, the people behind it are also one of the reasons that give me a positive outlook. The company that comes down here started coming here for hunting And now they are making their ranch into like an alternate corporate headquarters. And this is an international company. In case things get bottled up at their city operation, like they've had to send everybody home, they're going to make this into a remote base to keep all the principal at work. So we've got a lot to look forward to. The reason I say it's not a certain thing and why I'm causing a certain amount of hesitation is this building is going to cost approximately $19,500 a month to me for the expenses of paying for it and paying for the lease fees and utilities and taxes and things like that. $19,500. I cannot expect $19,500 from revenue for people renting it. At best, I'm really hoping I can get half that. It doesn't hold. Well, that's a different thing. Every hangar I've built out there in the past, though, and the additions to the hangar have all been done the same way as I'm doing this. I built the hangar knowing I couldn't afford it and knowing the renters were not there initially. But once I built it, they did come. I don't know if you realize it, but everything is competitive in the business world and city too. My business out there is competitive, but it's not with somebody here in town. At first, we were competitive with Carrizo Springs and Pearsall. Now, and we kind of won that war already. Mm-hmm. They're coming here instead of there. Our competition now is Laredo and San Antonio. And so that's why we're doing this. These are airplanes that would go to Laredo, except they don't have a hangar for them there either. Matter of fact, they did go to Laredo for a year, and it didn't work out. I'd like to say a quick word about this new Terminal 2, because it's kind of part of this deal. Having that is enabling a lot of other things to happen, including this. We've been in, small scale business for about 3 months now, having moved into it a little at a time, and even with the COVID, some businesses there. The reaction we're getting from the public coming through there is just incredible. I wish you could see the looks on their faces. The ones that have been coming for years that see it, as well as the new first-time visitors, their jaws drop. They can't believe what they're seeing, and they're excited and happy to come. And just now, it's been 2 weeks ago. This is for example. We had a plane that landed, a jet, came in from like Indiana or Illinois with a bunch of men in the back, passengers. They were looking for a ranch. They came here even though they were trying to get into Carrizo Springs. Carrizo Springs is too short for that aircraft, so they landed here. When the pilots, the flight crew saw our layout and the passengers saw it, they told the real estate agent on the ground, the ranch broker, let's look at some ranches in LaSalle County. Forget Dimmitt. So that's what we're looking at. And even if they get a ranch near Dimmitt, they're going to be coming here, like some of our customers already. And the last thing I'm looking excited about is when we start this hangar, I'm waiting to see the reaction we get from our friends in CBP. We've talked about that in the past, even before the council here, and they say it's a dead deal for coming here. But I can also tell you they have not made a deal with Laredo yet.
On that building that's 150 by 150, how many planes can you fit in there?
I can get about three
in there.
of the large planes.
Big one.
That's all. And these are guys that are not, they were anticipating about $3,000 a month payments for our hangar for that size airplane. 3 times 3,000 is 9,000 towards a 19,000 plus monthly operating cost. I've got to find out where that other 10,000 is going to come from, somehow or another. My reasoning in the past for building hangars like this is to get more traffic into Cotulla and then build up and gradually work our way into covering those costs.
If you remember, we did have a discussion with Customs and Border Protection, and we got their attention, and it was only at the last minute when Congressman Henry Cuellar told the people in Laredo that we were trying to take their business, and in fact, he told them that I was trying to take their business. And so when I went back to Laredo, they said, "Hey, you're trying to take our business?" And I said, "It's competition, man. That's what it's about."
Correct.
And so he kind of blocked it, but we're still hoping that we'll get in the future some planes by doing the improvements at the airport.
I can almost guarantee it because they've got some aircraft operating on the border right now that are coming from McAllen because there's no room in Laredo and we don't have a hangar here.
I think maybe when they see the terminal, they'll probably have a second or third.
And a
I
hangar
think
to
that's
put
already
their
happened. Am I correct? That's already happened?
They already saw seen the terminal?
Oh,
Been
yes,
in
and
the terminal.
I'm getting interesting calls.
They're watching.
Better believe it.
How
And they're
long does it
talking.
take to finish that building?
I suspect it'll be about 9 months to finish it, but it'll probably be 2 or 3 months just to get it ordered and delivered.
Correct.
A big clear span steel
Are you
structure.
gonna hire more staff on building that building? Or?
I don't know, I probably will later, but right now I've got a huge staff already. It's 7 of us counting part-time labor. And during the summer when it gets slow, I've got to lay everybody, go to reduced hours.
Correct.
And then come back up to regular hours during the hunting season.
Councilman, any?
Steve, you want to add anything?
Just real briefly, Mr. Page has had a hangar out there since the late 1980s, I believe. And that contract, I believe, is still in force. And this is the first, I guess the first additional hangar that is being built out there. And one of the concerns was the term. Mr. Page, his company, which will be called Cotulla Jet Center, Inc., will likely finance it. We'll need to get a mortgage on there. They don't own the property, but they own the lease, which is basically an interest in property that can be mortgaged. And he's asked for a long term. He originally asked for 40 years. The city manager, Mr. Philolina, and I talked to him and Keith Franklin about it and said that there wasn't an issue so much with the total amount of the term, but we wanted to break it up into a first and a second part of that term. In discussing the lease with Mr. Page this afternoon, the offer was made by the city to do a 25-year initial term and then an extension of an additional 15 years upon that termination of that 25-year term, so long generally as the tenant is abiding by the terms of the lease. The lease requirements will indicate that there will be a 2% adjustment or inflation assessed every 5 years. So there'll be a 10% increase in the lease every 5 years. So at the end of 25 years, the first per square foot amount, which I believe is 7 cents, will be, what, 12 cents? It'll go up 50 cents. The other stuff, there weren't any real concerns. There are some housekeeping things the city needs to do, including passing some model operating standards and things of that sort. They've kind of been back and forth over the years. And I think we have them generally the way we want them, we just have not adopted them yet.
So what you're saying is what it says here, providing a fixed term of years? That's what you're talking about?
There'll be a 25-year term and then an additional
additional 15.
15-year extension, which will allow the continuation of the lease so long as at the end of that 25-year period there aren't any issues. There is going to be some notice requirements where the lessee, which would be Cotulla Jet Center, would have to notify the city of its intent to renew. The city would then have an opportunity to go back and say, has everything been paid? Are we doing?
Right.
We probably need to do it sooner than 25 years, but if it hasn't happened, then it will happen at that point. Two other things. There is a future plan at some point to plat that area around the developed area around the airport, or the whole airport property, but to break those up into lots so that if there is a opportunity in the future to have other FBOs out there or some other type of business, that the city it would be a lot easier to determine the exact description of the property rather than the way that we have it now. That hasn't happened yet, and the idea being that Mr. Page will have his second hangar out there. Maybe he'll have a third one. Maybe somebody else will want to do something at some point, but it'll make that process a little bit easier. There was the last time, I believe it was the last time the city expanded the runway, they had to take a part of the hangar. So the city does have the opportunity, in case TxDOT comes in and says, hey, we're going to give you some money to go do some more things out there. If for whatever reason that hangar's in the way, the city has the ability to actually terminate that lease, but then it would offer Mr. Page the ability to move to a different location. Based at least on the conversations that we had today, that's very unlikely, but you know, it has happened in the past and I believe that was about 5.
Yeah, actually, you don't cancel the lease, you just amend the lease to reduce the size by whatever is being clipped, because you're doing either a runway or a taxiway and you're making it wider, so it then impacts the building. You might in the future have other businesses looking at it. It's highly unlikely that you would allow another FBO, what is called an FBO, a fixed base operator, because in a facility as small as the one we have, you would end up having both of them collapse because there wouldn't be enough business for both parties.
Right.
So you'll probably stay with one fixed base operator for many years to come, unless you see something really exponential come in. There is a possibility, and we talked about it when we were doing the discussion with Border Patrol, that they in fact have a fuel supplier that they have a national contract with that we would need to adjust or accommodate within the lease. And as those things occur, you know, we would work with the local parties here and with them to make sure that everybody's able to survive and that there's not a clash between the competition.
Right.
But for now, it's a simple lease that we're moving forward with a 25-year term. In the contract, it says that you're going to allow for a renewal to occur for an additional 15 years. It talks about the charge, which is a 7 cents per square foot of the space that is being leased, with a 2% per year annotated every 5 years. So you take the 25 years, it's 5 years that you're going to see 10% at each 5-year increment. And then the rest of the details we're ironing out who pays utilities, who pays whatever. And so it details what the responsibilities are of both parties. And that's what we're gonna finally bring to the council for approval. For now, we're just asking that you allow us to move forward, and we recommend that you approve what we currently have before you, so that we can continue negotiating with Mr. Page and with the contractor. We are trying to bring this contract to a close fairly quickly, because I think he has a tight window where this man is asking for the city to make a decision, and he has the option, as Mr. Page talked about it, of either staying here or in fact constructing a runway at his ranch and do those things at his place. And so there is a certain time that we need to move forward, and that's why we ask and we recommend that you give us initial approval tonight to proceed with what we've currently already discussed with you.
So the action that would be asked for tonight is to approve the broad parameters of the agreement, which would be a 25-year initial term with a 15-year extension, the 10% adjustment every 5 years, and generally the rest of it is just leasehold type language. We'll come back with a final document once the words are worked out. One other thing that I didn't hear mentioned tonight is the airplane, if it is in fact garaged there at the hangar, would appear on the tax rolls here in the city, and the city has annexed the airport, so therefore the city can impose its tax for personal property, which would include the airplane, which I believe is valued at quite a bit of money. What that would mean in the city's pockets, I don't know, but it would be...
It depends on where the plane is registered.
Right. So...
But certainly the hangar would be added to the ad valorem base of the city.
So the airplane would have to be there on January 1 or something?
Well, actually, they go by registrations with FAA or somebody.
It's more than just registration. They've got a lot of things to look at, but it's primarily how much time they spent in each location. And their home base would not be in Texas.
Okay.
Unless things change. And that's what we're trying to do.
Dilworth's.
Now, that would be a permanent one. Now, we're looking for permanent, but some people will rent space in this building just for the few weeks out of the year that they're here in Texas, in Cotulla. And they don't mind paying for a whole year.
Right.
Because that's how expensive some of these birds are, 30 to 40 million a plane for some of them. One thing about this, I'm glad Larry mentioned that they are looking at us, but they're also looking at building it on their own ranch.
Right.
An airport and a hangar and fuel system and everything. So I'd rather get them here and get their help to build our airport up, which helps all of us.
Right.
Get more
And
revenue.
they have a lease now at their home base. They got a 50-year lease at their airport. So it's not unheard of. This 40 years is, I think, fair for everybody.
So we don't have an actual document to give you tonight.
So just
but
the approval
we-
to
But
proceed
we
to
have the
finish it
broad,
up?
I mean, we've gone back and forth with it. Once the language is worked out, then we can come back with a final agreement. And hopefully, if the council decides to approve that, the construction would start soon. Of course, everything's up in the air now with all these things.
You need to make a motion for that?
Yes.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
I need a motion for, to approve item number 8. First motion was made by Mr. Gilbert Ayala, second by Mr. Danis Lopez. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Mr. Page, thank you very much for that presentation. Moving on to item number 9, Presentation of financial statements by Jorge Flores. Mr. Flores, are you here?
Thank you, Mayor, council members. Good evening. First report is your sales tax report. For the month of July, the city received $147,855, which is $2,750 less than last year, or 2%. And we were actually pleasantly surprised at the amount. It was almost the same as last year. Next report is the hotel motel. For the month of June, the city received $31,501. So for the third quarter, the city received $206,069. And for the first 9 months of the year, the city has received $727,655, which is 8% less than last year. Next report is the statement of revenues and expenditures. Page number 1, general fund, total revenues $1,724,664. And on page number 4, total expenses of $1,786,224 for a net loss of $60,660. On page number 5, the utilities. We had some trouble posting the utility billings for June. We had to work with the software company so that they could get posted. And they were finally posted, but they were posted in July, not in June. So they're not reflected on this report. So on page number 5, total revenues, $1,081,886. But we would add to that $150,394 for total revenues of $1,242,80. And on the next page, total expenses of $961,212. So the net income, once we add the June billings for the water, is $290,768. Next page is the gas fund. Total revenues, once we add, again, the June billings, would be $229,853. Total expenditures of $221,101 for net income of $8,751. And on the solid waste fund, we would add $65,108 of the June billings, giving us total revenues of $606,207 compared to total expenditures of $576 for a net loss of $89,369. Are there any questions on the financial report?
Not that much of a difference from last year.
No?
No, we're pretty close to what we actually did last year. In spite of everything.
Councilman, any questions for Mr. Flores? If not, Mr. Flores, thank you very much for that report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are you gonna introduce the auditor?
Moving on to item number 10, discussion and possible action to approve the City of Cotulla annual financial report for the fiscal year ending September 30th, 2019, presented by Canales and Garza and Baum P. LLC.
The audit was performed by the firm of Canales, Garza and Baum for the year ended September 30, 2019. And we have Mr. Juan Jose Garza, who will give a brief presentation on the audit report.
Excellent. Mr. Garza?
Good evening, Mayor, City Council members, City Manager. I'm here to present the audited financial statements for the City of Cotulla Again, for the record, my name is Juan Jose Garza. I'm a partner at Canales Garza and Baum. And you should have in the packet that was provided to you a report that is called an annual financial report. And pretty much those are the financial statements for the city of Cotulla. I'm just going to go briefly through our report, which is to provide an opinion on the financial statements of the city of Cotulla. And on that report, which is located on page number 1 of the annual financial report, pretty much states that we have audited the city of Cotulla financial statements as of September 30, 2019, specify what is management's responsibility, what is our responsibility, and of course our opinion on the financial statements. And I am pleased to say that we have issued an unqualified, clean opinion. That is the best opinion that a CPA firm can provide to an entity. So that's our opinion on the financial statements. So pretty much what that means is that anybody can rely on these financial statements and that they're not materially misstated. I'm just gonna go briefly through some of the reports. The first report that I'm gonna mention is a statement of net position, which is located on page number 12. And I just want to confirm the net assets of the city, which are $17,504,958, of which of those $1,333,966 are unrestricted. On the next page, page number 13, is the statement of activities, which is most commonly referred to as the income statement. So you have your expenses and your revenues and your expenses. And I'm pleased to mention also that the city, for the September 30th, 2019 fiscal year, it had an increase of $1,034,567. So it was a positive year for the city. Another report that I'm going to talk about, which is on page number 14, which I know is of importance for the city council. It's the general fund, and on the governmental funds, the general fund, the unassigned general fund balance is $3,529,323. This is a very lengthy report. After all these, various financial statements, we have the notes to the financial statements, which further explain the activity of the actual financial statements. But I'm going to go to the other two reports that we issue as well. The other two reports, which they begin on page number 57, it's the report which is pretty much in accordance with government auditing standards. What that report says is, as part of our audit, we are required to evaluate the internal controls, assess the internal controls of the city. And if we encounter any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, we are required to report those to you. And I will say that I'm pleased to say that we did not encounter any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses that made it to this level of the report. So that's a good thing. The third report that we issue, which is on page number 59, this is in relation to the single audit. And this is pretty much, for grants received by the city, we are required to test some major programs for the city. And as well as the other report, any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses, we need to present them on this report. And again, we did not encounter any significant deficiencies or material weaknesses in the city. So this concludes my report, but I know, this is a lengthy report, and I want to just let know to all city council members and the mayor, if you have any questions now or any time, you can contact us. You can contact me at the office and ask me any question that you might have in the future. Thank you.
Councilman, any questions for Mr. Garza? If not, thank you very much for your
Thank you.
update on that report.
You wanna make a motion to approve,
To accept.
Okay,
to accept.
yes. I need a motion on item number 10 is to accept the report. First motion. First motion by Mr. Lopez. I need a second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Ayala. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on to item number 11, discussion and possible action on the preliminary and final replat of lots 11, 13, block 14, and lots 4 through 9, block 16, Cotulla Business Park into lot 5A, 5B, 6A, and 7A, block 16, Cotulla Business Park.
Good evening, Mayor, Council. My name is Jorge Martinez with SMB. I'm gonna pass out or I can show you the larger print, and I did bring some smaller versions if the council would like to see. As matter of y'all would like to grab one.
Is this the one by 97?
No, this is where they're gonna do a dialysis clinic,
It's on Bader Street.
Oh, okay, Bailey Street.
yes.
Baylor. Okay.
That was good.
By the new school?
Right in front of the elementary.
Where the nutrition center is,
Okay.
Is that a private company coming in and doing it?
no, the county got a grant.
So the county owns the entire property. It used to be a former RV park.
Oh, okay.
So what's happening is, if you look at the original plat that was filed by the RV park owner back in, I forget what year it was, they did have a lot of easements and they orientated the lot differently. So what the county's looking at doing is reorienting all the lots, removing the easements. We've already contacted all the companies to remove all and vacate everything. And the idea is for them to just have four tracks for future, whether it's something medical or something else, I really don't know. But the dialysis clinic will be breaking ground within 30 days, once they get the city permits. So that will be one of the first things that's gonna, the lot for the dialysis clinic will sit, if you look at the map on lot number 6A, that will be the dialysis clinic. And the county's already selected a contractor, and they're looking at, like I said, to break ground soon. So what we're looking for is just an approval to reorientate reconfigure the lots the way we're showing them for the county, so that they can, develop it as they need in the future.
And you don't have any plans like for 7A, 5B, and 5A, not yet? There's
No, they
Not
don't
yet.
know. I know at one time they talked about maybe a medical facility of some sort. I know the community would like something like that in the future. Nothing's been programmed, but I do know that that's one of the themes they looked at considering for this area. For now, the elderly nutritional center will remain where it is, obviously, and next to it will be the dialysis clinic. Those will be the two front lots off Baylor Street, and the back will be to remain seen for a later date.
They're preparing them to develop in the future.
Right.
That's what they're doing.
Pues ya hay services
So
ahí,
the-
¿no? Hay sewer, water.
Everything is there.
So on the 6A, that's where the dialysis
Yes, sir.
clinic is gonna be.
That's where it's gonna come
Yes,
in, and you should see.
that's where
once
the
get
big
permits,
RV park used to be.
Yeah.
Which is this one right
And
here.
Man Camp,
Yeah, right next to the cemetery.
right. Councilman, any questions for Mr. Martinez on the replat? If not, I seek a first motion to approve item number 11.
So movement.
First motion by Mr. Gonzalez,
Second.
second by Mr. Lopez. Did you say? Second was by Mr. Lopez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. Motion carries.
Thank you,
Mr.
John.
Martinez, thank you very much.
You have a safe-
Moving on to item number 12, discussion and possible action to approve the purchase of material to replace a 1700 stretch of an 8-inch water line for Leonard Street and Chawtaw Street in the amount of $19,548.71.
We feel confident that our crew is able to replace this line. This is a 40 or 50-year 8-inch line. And the reason we bring it to you today is that there is an AT&T contractor, subcontractor that's going around town doing bores, and they hit the water line, and the line is so fragile that when they hit it, it shot up, it had a lot of pressure. We went to repair it, and the line broke a little bit further up, and so within that span of time when that occurred, the line broke in 4 different places, and so we want to make sure that we're able to avoid the water loss, and we are going to start doing the replacements. We want to order the material, but we want to go ahead and start the improvement, and we feel that our construction crew is able to do the work. We just wanted to let you know, because as we move forward, then we have to construct the line a little bit at a time and then make the connections as we go along during the day. So it'll be like a 2 or 3 week process when we do all of that. And so we're providing you with the information and letting you know what the materials are actually going to cost, plus the labor that we're going to do. But we're going to do it in-house.
In-house, yes.
Are they gonna
That was
pay
gonna
for
be
it?
my
Old
question.
lines that we had before?
Huh?
Pre-existing lines?
It's an existing line. I want to say it's 50 years or more. I can show you cutouts of the line. I have one in my office.
Cast iron?
It's cast iron. If you look at the old cast iron lines inside the city, they probably have about that much buildup inside those lines. And so an 8-inch line is typically about a 4-inch line because of all the buildup inside it.
Is AT&T going to give you any money for?
Oh, they're going to pay us for the labor and the cost, but their responsibility is only where they hit the brake, not the entire line. So,
I mean, if it blew the whole line because they hit the brake.
well, it blew the line where they hit it, but you can't make them pay for the fact that you never maintained the line.
Yeah, I seen it. It was even, that accident, I believe, happened either on a Saturday or a Sunday.
It was like a weekend.
Where
It was a
at?
weekend.
It was up here
Tilden,
on
is it?
on
Where Ms.
Tilden and
Lavasic
Leonard or
works?
Gonzalez.
Ms. Lavasic?
Is it Toli Gonzalez?
Well,
No, I think it was on Gonzalez Street, no?
Yeah, in the corner of
Somewhere in the
Tilden
corner, and it flooded that lady's house.
That lady's house, it was flooded and the garage was flooded.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna make a suggestion, sir, to when you get the material, to get stainless steel.
We are buying stainless
Yeah,
steel.
because you buy those
connections.
galvanized saddles, 2 or 3 years
Yeah.
they're gone.
Yep, we agree.
And I know they're a little bit more expensive, but they'll last longer.
We're using stainless steel.
I'll make a motion.
I need a first motion to approve item number 12. First motion by Mr. Gilbert Ayala. I need a second.
So moved.
Second by Mr. Gonzalez. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. Moving on.
And another thing, Bobby, fire hydrants or no?
Yeah, whatever fire hydrants are there will be replaced.
Ready? Moving on to item number 13. Discussion and possible action on a request submitted by Adrian Gonzalez regarding issue on Lalo Gonzalez Street.
I'm not recommending any action be taken. I'm making you aware that there is a problem in this neighborhood. When the state was widening the roads, they pushed the properties that were owned by the people on both sides, and they cut them back, and so these properties came back, and TxDOT came in and created a drainage ditch in this particular area. And so these people are on Lalo Gonzalez Street with their backyards facing the drainage ditch, and the drainage ditch comes in and cuts across their property. So when there's a lot of rain, these people kind of get flooded.
They get flooded.
It's an area that we're looking to try to resolve, much like what we're doing on Ortiz Street. And the city has gone in and purchased 2 properties that we intend to work in those 2 properties to either create a swale or to do some sort of drainage for the future. On Lalo Gonzalez itself, there is a new property owner, and if you drive out there, the gentleman insists, and the surveyor, that he owns a piece of the street. And in fact, Lalo Gonzalez is platted at 20 feet. It's actually like an alley. And these people built houses on there. And now, because this man is building a fence, they don't have anywhere to park, and they have all sorts of issues. The city went in there and tried to negotiate with the man and work on this alley that is there. The alley and the policy of the city is that the alley can be given to the adjoining property owners. The man that's doing the fence wanted the entire alley, and we couldn't give him the entire alley. So he said, you know what, keep your alley, I'm gonna put my fence. And so now if you drive there and you look at it, you can see where the problem is. At some point in the future, if items and things get worse, the city may have to go in there and condemn that piece of property so we can open up the street again. And, you know, I'm just saying, there's tension in the neighborhood, and there's people very upset about what this man has done. We're trying to resolve it, but it's a problem that existed there for a while. The city now owns 2 lots, one next to the ditch and one that comes this way. And so we probably will get Mr. Martinez to do some sort of design to capture that water so that water doesn't go into the houses. But that still leaves a problem with that street, Lalo Gonzalez.
Yeah.
And that's something that is gonna come back to you in the future, and I'm sure that you'll hear the residents telling you that they want it resolved.
Lalo, and what's the other street that abides with it?
Baylor.
Baylor.
It's right there where you come down.
It's a low spot.
There's a low spot there. There's there used to be yeah, and because we had many problems there before with the Arturo Gonzalez lift station, before we did all that work on it, that we actually constructed a concrete swale through the right of way, I think, that was there for Lalo Gonzalez, that goes next to the property of Roque Arevalo.
Is that something you're gonna have to take?
At some point,
Condemn it?
I think at some point, we're gonna have to condemn the man's fence and push him back to where that street used to be. That street was opened for the last 40 or 50 years until this man recently bought it 3 or 4 years ago. And he insists that this survey is correct. I did have Jorge look at it, and he says that it is correct. And so this is badly platted.
And so he won't replat, so if you need it to
You have to condemn that piece of land, because I want to say you have 10 property owners on that street that depend on the street. And so all of a sudden, he's going to put up a block fence that makes a 90 at that corner, and people are having to do this deal to get into a 20-foot easement. It's a problem. But we're moving forward to take care of it, whatever we need to do to make it happen.
Right.
Well, item number 13 was just a discussion
Yeah, and information.
and for our information as to what's to come in the future. Councilman, our meeting is coming to the close. Does anybody want to say anything to the public before we close? If not, I want to say that I want everybody to be safe. I know that wearing the mask sometimes People don't want to do that, but it's for our benefit and our safety. We need to keep on keeping our hands clean, using by hand sanitizer and washing them as best we can. So with that being said, it is now,
Let me say just a couple of words.
one more thing, Councilman Gonzalez would like to say, add
And
something.
along those lines, I would like to recommend to, if you don't need to go out, stay home. Stay safe. I know it's hard to stay home. I've been home for a while. It's hard, but we got to think of the other person's safety too. And you know it's hard. It's a change in our lives. It's not the normal anymore. It's like I've been saying that we got used to carrying cell phones. Now we got to get used to carrying masks. So be safe, like the mayor says. Be safe. Stay home if you don't need to go out. Just for essentials. And let's work on this together as a community.
Mayor, if I just had one other thing, and I believe Mr. Dovalina had mentioned that the city is getting some federal funds to cover COVID-related expenses that weren't in the budget. And the reason that they're getting those funds is, well, Congress allocated them, but because the city took the required steps for the mitigation, including the various orders that you passed.
Excellent.
So the council is directly responsible because of its actions for receiving those funds, which it otherwise would not have received. And that is a credit to the mayor, the council, and of course to the city manager who understood these things. And those are things that may not necessarily be known to the general public.
The money actually comes from the Texas Division of Emergency Management. That's where those funds are being allocated from.
But is that part of a grant from the government to the
It's
states?
part of the CARE Act.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, on that note, everybody, please be safe. Take care of your families, and may God bless you. It is now 8:15. Meeting is adjourned.